went down. Unbelievable.
Yes, that's actually.
And is now OOP, as they say in dog racing, out of picture in terms of the college football championship. There was no way that these committee people, even if they bring back Condoleezza Rice and she accepts a bribe from Jose Suma, there would seem to be no way that you could somehow work Alabama back in the equation. Is there with 2 losses? And possibility that they would have 4 losses on the season. Well, you can't say that because they won those games. And your man Jimbo, what's he on? Like a 9-game losing streak? That's unbelievable. Jimbo Fisher.
I don't know how much they've lost in a row. They have not played well the entire year. Like, and then Jimbo, like they're talking, his buyouts like $50 million, and they're considering. Like that's how bad this is.
Imagine that, $50 million they're going to give this cat to bail.
Go.
Wow. Did we all make some bad career choices? We should have just been failing college football coaches.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
No, I can smell the turkey cooking in the oven, man. It's starting to get closer and closer to the time. The time. Johnny Addy, you can see the mic dropping down from the ceiling. Sunnyside Garden in New York. There's Joe Louis in one corner, some bum of the month in the other corner. And after half a round of boxing, here we go again. Johnny gets up there in a tuxedo and says, the time, 1 minute, 21 seconds of round number 1, and the winner and still champion. Champion, I always thought it was spelled Champeen. Just from, I spelled it that way on my 3rd grade spelling test, and Mrs. Yearwood came over to me and said, well, what is that? You've spelled champion before. I said, no, but I was watching the Gillette Fight of the Week last night. It's Champeen. Has to be. Otherwise, why would Johnny Addy say it that way? Champeen. It was great. All right, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you. I hope you guys are all feeling like the champions of the world. I'm feeling pretty good today. It's a Tuesday, and we're getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday. And then I remember my dad, I forget the name of the cartoonist, but he was a very popular cartoonist in like the New York Times or one of the more sophisticated New York papers, at that time. There used to be like 5 daily newspapers published in New York. There was, the Herald American? Was that one of them? You had the Post, you had the Daily News, you had all kinds of other stuff. And the New York Times was the biggie. And I think this guy might have been a cartoonist in the Times, but he was a very sophisticated newspaper cartoonist. And he had a character in his cartoons called Horntooth. Okay. Right? And I'll never forget, my dad really loved this picture. He had it like framed, and it was called Horntooth Looking for Inspiration, which is what we're all trying to seek. Are we not? Are we not looking to be inspired? Is that part of the quest of life? People are often asking, and this is one of the questions that we like to address on this particular brand of sports talk. What is the meaning of life? Well, we know one thing. The meaning of life, part of the meaning of life is that we know that when Lubie's very busy, all of a sudden, it's not like we haven't said anything, remotely interesting over the last couple of weeks, but we keep running that Nick Saban line because Lubie is moving. I want to clarify that for a lot of people who are saying, hey, Dave, you ever going to come up with another line?
I have a few things to
You couldn't find anybody else to poke fun at?
You've had some dingers. Zingers. I will have that new one by tomorrow. I apologize.
I'm not complaining. I appreciate it.
I feel bad. I just feel bad. I'm like, we know he lost. I don't think he lost the last 2 weeks, actually. That's wrong.
I embrace lameness when it comes to work. Although I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like I've always had a fairly decent work ethic and standard. I always trying to do a good job, even, whatever the circumstances may be. Even when we had Jack Namer, texting us every 3 seconds. Yeah, you better do something different. That was worse than dealing with the moronic program directors that we had over the years.
I'm not going to lie. It wasn't better. Whatever we dealt with at iHeart, they left us alone until after the show.
Yeah, at least they weren't trying to poach into our sales, although they tried their best to compromise us in that respect as well. Because
they did plenty of that.
What's funny, too, is when other people are failing at their jobs, that they really don't like it when somebody sort of independently comes into the company and is doing well.
Exactly.
We were resented for like 11 plus years there at iHeartMedia because we were having no problem selling our show, and it seemed very successful to us. And they were looking at it and going, what the hell are you guys doing? Because they didn't have a single sponsor placed on the program outside of the gimmies that came from all of these gambling entities when they were indiscriminate about where they were spending their money. If you had a station and it had a signal, they were buying time on it because they knew they were going to lure in enough people to get buried that it was going to be worth their while. But anyway, so what are we looking for in life? Are we looking for inspiration, Lubie? Is that not part of it? I mean,
Yes.
I can't say that lately. In my walk of life, I've been thinking you're not overwhelmingly inspired lately, Defo. What is wrong with you? You don't want to live this way. You don't want to play out the string. Where you're on a team like the Marlins, that has to be very, very frustrating and futile. Don't you feel like a Marlin player sometimes in life, where you're already 30 games under 500, you barely even cracked the All-Star break yet. You're getting into the dregs of August and September when you're totally out of the race. You're not even interested in being a spoiler. You're uninspired, and it's not a good way to go through life.
No.
All right. So, I mean, aside from inspiration, what else that ends in TION are most people seeking? And there's, believe me, that there's a method to this, just like there was yesterday with that FIFA speech thing. After we got into the whole thing about Jews for Trump, could a guy be any more of a goofball? By the way, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of this guy when he was originally brought on as the Attorney General of the United States. But this bar cat, who he seemed like a real jerk, right? William Barr,
Bill Barr, the one under Trump, who did
yeah.
nothing.
I mean, he wrote an excellent column about how, it's got a picture of the Donny Boy. Now the Post is turned on Trump, and it's got a picture. And William Barr wrote a column that is very well done. I have to say, I've gained some new respect for this man because he seemed like a buffoon, like a tool, when he first was defending all of Trump's stuff. And he says, enough of Trump's scorched earth ways. That's essentially the theme of this whole thing. And he does a really nice job here. This is in the New York Post today, William P. Barr, of outlining both, surprisingly, there were some good things that happened in the Trump administration that were beneficial to people. There were. I mean, but he really describes how Trump's own ego got so far involved in and impeded any possible good that could have been done. And of course, he was doing this while, a zillion people were telling him, back off, Donnie, back off, pull yourself out of this thing. But no, it's a decent column if you get a chance to read it, especially if you're, as we are. I mean, we've been very anti-Trumpster for the entire time, thinking, why not? An actor out on loan. Remember that line in the Doors song?
Yes.
An actor out on loan. That's kind of what we had there running the country. I think he was referring to Reagan back then, although was Jim Morrison still around then? I don't know. No, he didn't make it that far.
Oh, but remember, Reagan became the governor of California.
Yeah.
It would make sense that Morrison was in
like
there.
A dog without a bone, an actor out on loan. All right, so besides inspiration, what else ends in a TION that we're always looking for, Libby? Always looking for?
Satisfaction.
Close. I mean, it's right along those lines. I can't get no satisfaction. Affirmation, is it not? Affirmation is what we're looking for.
Okay, that is true. Yes.
And I got it yesterday. I did.
You're affirmed. An alley dog.
I got affirmation on everything that I believed about soccer. Transpired in front of my eyes yesterday as the U.S. team at 2:00. Now, we were doing Mike Mayo's lunchbox down at Grandpa's in Dania. A great array of food. Did you see Mayo, by the way, chomp down that bagel? He ate an entire omelet on a bagel in like 2 bites. Did he cut that thing in half, or did you have your own?
He cut the whole sandwich in half, but the half was like this.
Yeah.
Where I was like dunking it and squishing it. He unhinged the jaws, as Andy likes to say.
How does he do that, man?
I don't know.
It's like Geppetto being swallowed up by a whale or something. Unbelievable. No, I don't know how he does it. It's amazing that he was a sophisticated food critic and, has this delicate palate. And at the same time, literally eats like a savage, like a barbarian. He should just have a giant turkey leg, Mayo, and eat that every day on a lunchbox. That should be the lunchbox. Mike Mayo eats a giant turkey leg. But really good food there at Grandpa's. And we had, a terrific time. So I get home from that about 2:00. And I'm thinking, all right, I have nothing really going here. I was probably going to crash for a while. get ready to maybe do something in the evening. I was supposed to play some tennis, but even though we probably could have gotten it in, Dr. Jerry punked out because it was pouring where he was, and I understand that. You don't want to schlep all the way across town, and then you get there, you play for 5 minutes, and it starts raining. Very understandable, especially for a guy. He's still a doctor. He's a practicing physician. Can you believe this? Leaves the hospital. He'll be in the middle of cutting some guy's toe off and go, up, I got to go. No, he's responsible. But, and then he'll go play like 2 sets of tennis with me and then go back and do another operation. I don't know how he does it, right? I go home and drink 2 beers and, suck down a couple of baked potatoes. But, yeah, he's very diligent about that. So, but we ended up getting washed out. So I figured that was going to happen anyway because it looked kind of gruesome out there in terms of the weather. Yeah. So I figured, all right, let me check it out. There it is.
Oh, you tried to watch it?
and I agree with Jim Sarney that the U.S. was dominating in the first half of that game. They seemed to have possession of the ball the entire time. Most of the action was down there in the Wales defensive end. They got a few shots off. They almost had an own goal go in off the head of a Wales player. That would have been great to begin the World Cup with an own goal against Wales, and the U.S. Getting it. They had a real pretty goal there to go up 1-0. I would have to say that looked a little bit like a fast break. They were actually moving at that point. But everything that I think about the game of soccer, what was reaffirmed to me by watching just the first half of that game yesterday. I mean, just dreadful. And now Mayo, Mr. Soccer, during the lunchbox yesterday, I hate when people fire back and go, yeah, well, hockey doesn't have a lot of scoring. It is night and day, the action differential between hockey and soccer.
Yeah.
Hockey is played by big guys on skates who are just absolutely annihilating each other. You won't see a hockey player get up crying, go, oh, my knee.
Yeah, the flopping does not happen in hockey. That's for sure.
Flopping? They get absolutely knocked out cold, and they get right up and skate down the other end of the ice and try to stick the puck away from the guy that did damage to him. And then they fight the guy. It's great. No teeth, nothing. I mean, you can see that they've been through every possible physical, detrimental condition that you could go through from playing a sport, and they don't care. They get their teeth knocked out. Their right eyeball is, sitting there in the left socket, and the interview comes up at between periods, and Randy Mueller says, "Oh yeah, he'll be out for the third period. Don't worry about it." Soccer, my God, they don't even get touched. Guy does a fake flop. It looks like that scene in The Godfather that Coppola deliberately left in there when James Caan missed the punch. And then a guy with a man bun comes running over and holds up a yellow card and goes, "That's a yellow card." What a pussy game. I mean,
it's just they're similar sports except for that hockey is smaller net.
It's fast paced though. Even if no scoring is taking place, it's fast paced. Guys are getting crushed into the boards. Guys are flying up and down the ice. They don't sit there in the center ice between the 2 blue lines and just dick around with the puck for like an hour and then kick it back to the goalie so he can shove it back out to center ice. Do you ever see that play in hockey? Never. Maybe when Roger Nielsen was coaching. That was about it. When we had the original Panthers there. But they made a rule against that. Don't hang out here in center ice. I mean, you can't do this. We don't want the game to get bogged down and be boring. But and you got guys futilely running after each other the entire time. And it was just, what a waste. Anybody, usually like when an event is taking place, like the World Series or the Super Bowl or the Masters in golf, you're inspired to go out there and participate in that sport, right? Even if you haven't picked up the clubs in years, the Masters is coming up. You're going, hey, Lubie, let's go out to Top Golf and drive a few. You know what? If we hit the ball well, we'll go play around somewhere. We'll go
100%. 100%.
Right?
Yep.
Football, you're out there throwing a ball around before the Super Bowl. You're tailgating.
Yep.
Soccer, my God, what are you going to do? Bounce a little ball off your knee? Oh, look at that. Look at me. What a fucking joke.
It's just, look, and that's what I said to the mail yesterday. Even in hockey games, let's say it's 3-2,
yeah,
the shot and goal at the end of the game will be like
40 shots. The guy made amazing saves.
Like, they're at least shooting it. Like, you watch a soccer game, and it's, what a competitive game. 5 shots to 4.
What a joke.
What you doing that?
It is true. Our friend Blake Chadwick had this up on social media yesterday, and it's very true. I've seen this sentiment expressed a zillion times, and I believe it. Affirmation. That's what I was after yesterday, and I found it. Every 4 years, Americans feign interest in soccer.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time, they could care less. Now, it hasn't even been every 4 years because we haven't been involved in a World Cup. We missed, I guess, the last one?
Yeah, we missed.
So that meant there was an 8-year gap.
Yes.
Countries like Cameroon, countries, Croatia is playing, I guess, tomorrow morning, huh? 5 o'clock in the morning. Is Nikita's open? Sarni keeps asking me if Nikita's is open. Croatian sports bar. We'll have to ask Mike Mayo what food is indicative of and indigenous to Croatian lifestyle. I don't know. What do you think? What do they eat there?
I don't know.
Coleslaw, sauerkraut. What is the? I'm not sure. Anyway, the game is completely boring. It's a ridiculous game. It's so stupid. What a waste of time. These people running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The field is the size of a major, mid-sized country. The goal, literally, as big as the Grand Canyon. If you can't put the ball in that goal from a mile away, then you really suck.
Well, that's what's weird about it is the goal's massive. The person has no shot at saves, yet it's 2-1.
Yeah.
Or 1-1.
And how does Wales end up tying a game on the dumbest of all plays, the penalty kick, where it really is. It reminds me, and this is an old reference, but I've been using it for 50 years because it makes sense. I believe it was the last guy to be executed in his fashion, Gary Gilmore. Yeah. When they took him out in front of a Utah firing squad, they offered him a blindfold and a last drag on a cigarette. Mm-hmm. This was in relatively modern times. I mean, if you consider my lifespan to be modern times, 72 years.
That's modern.
It's only 71, but it's getting closer and closer to 72.
Modern times.
But the goalie is essentially Gary Gilmore in that spot, is he not?
Oh, honest, yeah.
There were 20 guys with guns, and guess what? Not everybody's going to miss.
Someone's going to hit you, exactly.
You're going down, Gary. That's it. You kill those people, and you're going to pay the price.
God.
So, and it was another guy with a man bun. That was the big star for Wales. I don't remember his name.
What's his name?
Yeah, what's his name?
No, I have it under my tongue.
It doesn't matter. He's a non-entity, nondescript. It could have been Tom Jones, right? What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Gareth Bale.
He's the big guy over there, and he gets a penalty kick on another joke of a play, right, where some guy slides, takes him out, and they say, okay, let's do this. Even though we've played 90 minutes of this game, and the other team has been working their asses off, and they finally got a goal on what was a decent soccer play, where, a little, give and go there, kind of a fast break. And the guy, Weah, who is the son of the president of Liberia, who was like an all-time soccer great. I mean, this guy was like the Pele of Liberia, I guess. And, he did a nice job. He kind of back-footed the thing into the goal there and, changed the direction of it. Goalie was completely out of place, as usual. And the U.S. scored, and you thought, wow, okay, so probably going to win this game 1-0. And sure enough, they put the ball right in front of the goaltender, like from 2 feet away, and they give this guy who's supposed to be a monster player a free kick based on the fact that he got tripped up, and that's it. 1-1, and that was the final. And everybody is, they had every recognizable soccer player from the United States on the post-game analysis. They had Donovan, they had Dempsey, and they had Lawless. Lawless has been doing this forever. I kind of liked him when he was playing, when he had the red hair and the freaky beard.
Yeah, the beard, yep.
Yeah, he was kind of like Carrot Top in sneakers. I guess Carrot Top wore sneakers. But he was a decent soccer player, and it was at a time where we were still trying to make the case that the United States was going to be a factor in worldwide soccer. We are never going to be a factor because we don't give a shit about soccer. And you know what? That makes me feel better about this country. Just like the slowing of the red wave when it turned out to just be like a very mild, maybe undertow. The fact that we have not embraced soccer at this level really encourages me about the condition of the United States of America. And you see all the where are these people that are gathering like in Kansas City, and they're all going nuts as if they were at the stadium themselves? Ridiculous. But I mean, it just reaffirmed my belief that soccer is a sport that was invented by Cro-Magnon men. They were kicking skulls around, and they were part of a mutant society that had no arms.
It's like
otherwise, why wouldn't you just grab the fucking ball and throw it?
Use your
something.
arms.
Use your arms. What sport is designed so you don't use your limbs? None. Why don't they make them walk on their hands and just carry the ball with their feet? This is the dumbest game I have ever seen. Maybe at the highest level. I don't know. I guess as we get towards the matches that actually feature teams that are real, what would that be? Argentina, Brazil?
Well, Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia. That's Mayo's big gripe. So I don't know if Argentina's one of them.
They're no good. Messi, he's finished, huh?
They were supposed to be good. Mayo's losing it. He said it was the biggest fixed job in the history of sports or something. I don't know.
Mayo should, he should disqualify or recuse himself from any commentary after that disgrace of a performance yesterday, where, he's attacking me about the fact he knows soccer is a dumb game. He knows it. I love you, Mike. You know soccer stinks as a game. Would you ever go out and say, hey, let's go kick a soccer ball around?
Oh,
you suggest that your friend should punch you immediately or call 911. Hey, look. Imagine I'm hanging out with like Jersey Kyle or something, and I say, hey, Jersey, why don't we go buy a soccer ball and kick it around?
Let's go kick. Yeah, so you're like, let's go toss the ball. You're never like, let's go kick the soccer ball.
Two guys, man. What are you doing? You're going to play one-on-one at the park? Maybe have a catch. Right, throw a football around, pretend that you're in the Super Bowl. But would you ever? People do it, but it's obviously restricted to areas where usually you have some kind of, at least in South Florida, some kind of Latin presence. Like Hialeah, you'll roll by and see some people playing soccer. In Italy, you would when we were on that train going from Florence to Rome, you would see all these little soccer fields that were carved out in the middle of nowhere, like in farm country somewhere. They're growing grapes, and at the same time, got a little soccer stadium with some stands and everything. So I understand it if it was part of your culture. But this is why it's good that the NFL has expanded. I in general don't really care for the games that are played, like in London, and they had last night's game in Mexico City.
Come on.
That's fine. But, and these are soccer strongholds, but it's not a game. It's just a stupid activity.
Game. I just love your hatred.
If Brittany Griner ends up playing a lot of soccer, it'll be because she's confined in a Russian penal colony. And they would consider that a harsh, cruel, and unusual punishment to make the people, while they were in the yard there for their 1 hour outside. Oh, okay, you know what? We're not just going to stand around. We're going to play some soccer. Okay. The whole thing about Qatar and having the games there is an absolute joke also. Totally ignored by the networks. That some guy got detained because he was wearing a rainbow support shirt for LGBTQT. Now it's LGBTQT plus. What is the plus?
I don't
Very
know.
unfortunate incident, by the way.
What's unfortunate?
Another shoulder shrugger too. Oh yeah, okay. Guy walked into a gay club in Colorado and shot like 20 people. Matter of routine, huh? We don't need to look into any kind of gun control. The guy was a nutbag who had already been under scrutiny, and he was able to buy these guns legally, including an assault rifle. Great. Picked it up the other day at like Walmart or wherever they were selling them. I guess Walmart stopped doing it. Who would think that there wasn't some need for some kind of legislation to say, let's get a database at least and try and track these nut jobs. And when they end up purchasing, how could the guy even have the ability to purchase a rifle legally after he had just threatened to blow up his house with his mother in it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a week before. It's not funny. It's sad.
Oh, no,
this is where we're at. Absolutely sad. So and this is with the backdrop of your man Elon Musk going ahead and saying, you know what, it's okay to promote violence and sick ideas and hatred and divisiveness. Let's reestablish the accounts of all of these assholes that were on Twitter before, like Marjorie, whatever her name, Taylor Greene.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear from her. You know what? I think that's why I don't have a Twitter account. I'm really happy about it. I really am. I stayed out of it.
Twitter account, you don't access it. You do have a Twitter account.
Oh, I have a Twitter account, but you basically are running it. Yeah.
You just don't do it.
I'll probably get a jackpot for something that you end up saying.
I won't doubt that.
But my interest in the World Cup went right out the window. I got into it a few years ago. There were a couple of players. They had a kid, Owen, from England. He was like 16.
Michael Owen.
He was pretty exciting.
For years, yeah.
Obviously, if you had guys, the stature of a Pele, the big names in the game, Is Ronaldo even in this thing, or is he currently in disgrace for some reason? What's up with Ronaldo? Is he playing for anybody? What would he be playing for?
He
Spain?
would be Portugal. No, he'd be Portugal. I don't
Portugal.
know. I know that his club team wasn't happy with him, but I still think he would be playing the World Cup though. Like I don't know why.
What about this Bayeval guy? It's like Bobby Knopp. Remember that baseball player, Bobby Knopp? Or Randy Fund, Pfund. Mbappe. What about Mbappe? Is that how you say his name?
Mbappe. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What about him? He's involved. He's like the biggest star in the games right now.
He's great on France. Yeah, he's amazing.
Is Zinedine Zidane still playing? The guy that looked like Sid Rosenberg?
Forever. He was the coach of France
for
a long time. I don't know what he's doing now. Zinedine Zidane. Yeah.
Yeah. It was either Mark Messier or Sid Rosenberg that he was a dead ringer for.
Both.
Zinedine Zidane.
Yep.
Anyway, just total dreck yesterday on TV. 2 hours of that, and then 2 hours of post-game analysis. And they're all like, oh, my God, I can't believe the way they collapsed in the second half, and this is really bad. But you know what? They should beat Iran. Yeah, of course. I don't even know if Iran has a soccer field. Do they? Where they play? Just on straight-up sand there in Iran? I'm not sure. They should be used to the conditions weather-wise, there in Qatar. And what a joke. I mean, all the way around.
This whole thing. I mean, it's hard for me. Look, it's because of the timing of the year. I really am not into it. But also the situation doesn't matter. Like it's like that stupid the Live Golf Tour. I would pay more attention to if it wasn't so scummy. And I get it. I'm not perfect. Believe me. We actually are very lucky to work with sponsors that are very responsible and big time citizens within the community. But we don't always do our due diligence on sponsors. I'm not going to lie. So we don't know who they've worked with, who they've worked with. I get that. But I mean, come on. Like Saudi Arabia directly. Qatar, the stuff that's going on over there. Like, are you kidding me?
It seems to be a known fact, although they don't really like to play this up too much when it comes to the TV coverage. That like almost 7,000 people who were essentially enslaved, actually paid to work there, and were promised all kinds of stuff. Ended up dying building these stadiums because they didn't have any ballparks there. Nothing.
Yep.
They were completely bereft of any ability to host a World Cup when they were awarded the World Cup for 2022. Completely had no condition. And, the fact that they had to change the time of the year where the games were being played, that really took, a lot of the life, I think, out of the interest level of the people like me that might be a casual fan.
Yep.
And might be inclined to tune in saying, okay, everybody loves this stuff, so let me take a look at it, see what it's all about.
Yep.
And, I'm not one, look, I like a lot of obscure sports. And, I've spent my whole life loving boxing and horse racing. I've said this many, many times. I don't expect everybody to love that. I understand if people don't. And, every now and then you'll be talking about it on a show. I used to get this all the time from different program directors. Are you going to sit there and talk about your day at the track?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, well, I mean, it has applications to other things, and it can impart practical wisdom to people so that they can better be equipped to live their own lives. Just like we were looking for yesterday, affirmation, and all of my thoughts about soccer were reaffirmed yesterday. It's like a bad blowjob. It really is. Where you just can't wait for it to end. I mean, you're looking, she might even be a really attractive woman.
I've ever been like,
and you're thinking, I don't know who you've been with before, but if he liked that.
Horrendous. I wouldn't wait.
What are these teeth marks?
I would do a nudge. I would just wait.
Right? You're holding her head like you were straight, like it was Derrick Henry straight arming a defensive back.
I'm okay.
Stop.
Exactly. I wouldn't wait.
There it is. Put that out there, Lubie. Soccer is like a bad blowjob.
I want to make that.
That could be the new opening. Yeah.
I want to put it in the open so bad.
I mean, you guys know we're having fun with it. If you're a diehard soccer fan and you're seething
I do
right
like
now by this commentary, that's fine.
Look, I am that guy you're talking about. I watch the EPL here and there, I guess, and some of the Champions League.
What's good is soccer highlights are actually very good.
Yes. Well, no, and and I said it to Andy, and I know hockey has this, but I don't think it gets in the way anywhere near as much. The offside ruins soccer. Soccer has probably more opportunities for goals, but whenever there's a fast break, like, no, he's ahead of the guy. Isn't that the goal?
Dumbest
Like,
fucking
isn't
rules
that
I've
the
ever
goal?
seen.
You get ahead of the guy.
How does the goalie decide which way he's going to kick the ball or whether he's going to throw it? That would be an interesting thing to study. Because I always love that when they're dicking around at midfield for like 5 minutes, nothing's happening. You can hear in the background absolutely. I mean, it's so much like being in an insane asylum when you're listening to the dull tones of vuvuzelas, like you're in the opening scene of a Dickens novel. That's going the whole time, and the ball's doing. There's no defender within 10 feet of whoever has the ball. This guy has it. He dribbles around for a couple of seconds, and he kicks it over to the middle. There's another guy that's being, defended from 10 yards away, and he dribbles around, pisses around for a while. Then they kick it over to the side, kick it back into the middle, and then the guy turns and goes, "Yo!" and kicks it back to the goalie, who's 50 yards from the action.
That's my.
Now, what is the point of that? Is that a reset of some sort? It's not like, when the goalie holds the puck behind the goal there and he gives it off to like Messier or whatever, and the guy's skating around and he starts flying on a fast break. But and you don't have too many breaks either. I mean, once in a blue moon, everybody gets running in the same direction. Other than that, it's side to side. And then kick it back to the goalie, and then the guy decides whether he's going to punt it, place kick it. He drops the ball down. There's nobody near him. I mean, there's nobody within like 50 feet. So, he just puts it down on the ground. He looks around for a while, points to this guy, points to that guy, and then he runs up and he kicks it. And you're thinking, wow, that guy should be in the NFL, this goalie.
Honestly.
It's pretty impressive that he could kick the ball like that out past midfield. Okay, so, it takes some kind of skill, I guess. And then every now and then they just, place it over their head and throw it.
That's when it's out of bounds. Yes, you have to throw it.
No, but I mean, even the goalie will throw it from time to time, or he'll like slide it, underhand. He gives a little slide off to the side there, like he's dishing it off, like he was Steph Curry.
Yeah, yes.
But how does he decide which way to what method to employ when there's nobody anywhere near him, and the ball essentially is going to go to the same place, whatever method he uses? Whether
that's what I was going to say.
Place kicks it, throws it, it's going out to midfield.
Like if it's a goal kick, meaning it goes out of bounds behind the goal, you're supposed to place it and kick it. That I understand. But yeah, sometimes you're right. They will like boot it or roll it, and when they boot it, they never kick it to their own guy. So I'm like, they're just booting it. Like when they roll it, at least it goes to their guy. Like when they're booting it,
just throw it up there, and then everybody tries to hit it with their fucking head. What a stupid game. Sorry, Mike Mayo, I love you, but that was a very lame argument yesterday. Well, what about hockey? He's like,
hockey's nothing like soccer.
Nothing like it. I mean, it's not even close. You go to a hockey game, you're like, my God, how do these guys do this? How on earth are they doing this on skates?
It's for like 2 minutes, and the 2 minutes is like forever.
Yeah.
Soccer, they don't take a break. And they're okay. They play 45 minutes, and then 10 minutes extra. That no one knows really how. The extra time could be 2 minutes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. There's no definition to when the game ends. And what is that based on, by the way?
I don't know. It's supposed to be the injury. But I'm like, they stopped way more than 8 minutes. That's my favorite is when they stop 6 times, and each stoppage is 3 minutes, but then the extra time is 2.5. I'm like, that wasn't equal.
The flopping and the crying, and then the guy's in agony. He's on the ground, and he's complaining and fetching to the referee. And then as soon as the ref, goes by after administering the yellow card, he sprints down the field like nothing was wrong.
I both hate and love. I hate the flopping. I love the minute they realize, I'm not getting a penalty, then they're fine.
Yeah. It's like the Alta Conkers on that senior junket that I take to Harris all the time. Just on it, and you're like, wow, you were one of the 12 people needing wheelchair assistance getting on the plane. How is it that you're in the front seat of the bus after sprinting from the terminal all the way to the first bus seat so you can be the first one off? Incredible, man. Anyway, that was my experience yesterday. Affirmation is what it's all about, my friend.
That's great.
Affirmation. All right, I got clobbered this week by Francesco. I think he picked up, let's see. I went from being up about 15 units to maybe being up 6.
Oh,
he absolutely destroyed me with these games, including last night's game, which you had no shot. Colt McCoy broke in with George Blanda, too, didn't he? Colt McCoy.
He's been around a long time. Yes.
Wow. I was thinking, all right, I have a shot here. I'm getting 8 points with Kyler Murray. And then Murray doesn't play. Colt McCoy's lining up. Colt McCoy was drafted in 2010 in the third round. Mike Lubie. It's 2010.
I know.
I don't know that anybody ever thought that he was going to be a dynamic pro quarterback, although the Cleveland Browns invested a third-round pick in him, and he did start for them for a while.
Yes.
But they have, an unfortunate penchant for drafting guys that have no chance to be big-time pro quarterbacks and playing them. Right? Who was the guy? Johnny, what's his name? Johnny Appleseed?
Johnny Manziel. You forgot Johnny Manziel. Jesus.
Yeah, Manziel.
Johnny Manziel.
Where's Manziel today? What happened to Manziel? Johnny Manziel.
Off somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe trying the XFL again. I don't know.
He had plenty of juice. He was ahead of his time. I mean, immediately pointing out the atrocities and hypocrisies of the NCAA. Yeah, he was great. Signing autographs at $50 a pop there at some gas station in Texas. But McCoy, I mean, he was pretty good as a Texas quarterback, a good collegiate quarterback. Another one of those guys that was a good collegiate quarterback.
Yeah.
And really didn't necessarily have skills that would translate well into being a top-notch pro quarterback. And sometimes you just have to accept that. But he's been with Cleveland, San Francisco, Washington, the Giants, and now Arizona. And I thought he'd been in the league longer than 12 years. Didn't you? When you say?
Like it's been 20 years. Yeah, it feels like it's been like since early 2000s.
I know. I mean, he broke in with Vinny Testaverde, didn't he? Vinny Testaverde.
Young was
no shot, though. I mean, we had a momentary thrill. And this is something we were complaining about with the Hurricane football team. As, I mean, at least Arizona for part of the game, the part that, they before they became overwhelmed by the fact that they just didn't have enough talent to match up yesterday with the San Francisco 49ers. At least they gave it a try, right? They were in there trying. They had a little bit of spunk. They had a couple of drives. They actually got on the board first. When it became 14-3, they cut it to 14-10. And then from there, the slaughter was on. But, I mean, I played with a little bit of dignity as much as you possibly can have while being completely outmanned. With a team that, wow, what do they do with your man Kingsbury? Not exactly working out so well. What do you think?
I would say goodbye. He was a stupid ass hire from the beginning. They were throwing stuff at a wall and it splattered.
Hasn't turned out well, although, I mean, last year everybody thought they were great. Remember we were talking, with guys that we consider to be qualified experts on the National Football League. It shows you that nobody knows anything when it comes to predicting the future. But there were people. Remember, we asked that question of a million guys when Arizona was like 9-1 or 10-1, whatever they were.
Yes.
And we said, "Hey, are the Cardinals for real?" Because I see a lot of holes there. And everybody said, "Oh no, they're for real." And then they lost like their next 6. Your boy Zach Wilson is going to be taking a seat, huh? Wow.
What I love that they're like they can't score. They're dreadful, and a lot of it's on him. And they're like, "So do you think you're letting your offense down? Your defense down, which obviously is." He's like, "No."
Yeah. He was horrible. I mean, in the second half of that game, I think the Jets had 77 yards of total offense, which has to be some kind of a negative record, no?
Yeah.
But he was horrible. I mean, guys were wide open, and he was missing them by a mile. Yeah.
That's my thing. Like I was gonna say, they don't have Breece Hall. Their offensive line's had an issue.
So he couldn't complete the simplest of passes. I'll give McCoy credit. At least, he was doing that little Brady thing for a while, and it was working with the 7-yard pass over the middle consistently, and dumping it in there in traffic and making some decent throws. But, that's going to wear out eventually. And with Zach Wilson, though, he had plenty of guys that he could have hit for first downs in key situations, which obviously in the second half, everything was a key situation when you had the ball. It's a 3-3 game. And missed them by miles. I mean, by miles and miles and miles. Why do I feel like singing today, Lubie?
We're almost at Thanksgiving. I never understood that draft pick. I know people like the 1-year wonder guy is always weird to me. Like Justin Fields, I get it. The Ohio State quarterbacks haven't hit fine, but the dude you could tell had a lot of talent. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence. I didn't the Trey Lance and the Wilson were 2 ones where I was like, okay. Well,
I mean, you could have said that about Baker Mayfield. It's possible. Although
at least Mayfield was good for 2 years. Mayfield was really good for a long time at Oklahoma, and he's just as undersized. I don't know what his issue is. I actually thought he had a shot to make it in the pros, but Wilson isn't good. Like, I never understood Wilson flying with the draft boards and being. You took Wilson over Justin Fields. Like, come on, like that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't give a shit if Fields flames out. Fine, at least you went with the guy that looked really good. Like Wilson is small. He's light. He was never very accurate. Even at BYU, what is it? Utah or BYU? I guess BYU.
Yeah.
Even at BYU, he wasn't accurate. He just was the gunslinger guy. They love the white guy that's a gunslinger. That's like that 1978. It makes them execs remember their youth. Like, I don't give a shit if he's a white guy who's a gunslinger. This guy is a freaking monster. Like Justin Fields is 6'3", 240, can throw, can run. Hello. Like, what do you
Fields has demonstrated, that he has possibilities in the last few weeks, although he was injured. But with his running ability, and he can throw the ball a little bit.
Yes, better than Wilson.
Wilson looks horrible, absolutely horrendous. The Jets were eking out victories, maybe in spite of Zach Wilson.
Yes.
But this game against the Patriots really exposed him for all of the negativity that people have been, suspecting what were eventually going to surface, all of the negativities. And it was ugly. So Robert Saleh is saying he's going to possibly bench the guy. Do you think he does? Does he actually pull the trigger on that, or is Belichick the only guy with the balls to make a move like that?
I just don't. We know with young quarterbacks, if you're going to tease something,
Pete Carroll also, you could say. Pete Carroll, same thing. We'll bench a guy and play somebody else that he thinks is better.
I guess it could be a motivator, but if he's not, I don't want to say man enough. I hate when they say that because women are very strong.
What was he? Number 2 overall pick?
He's the number 2 pick. Or Trey Lance, or Justin Fields. The same class. And your boy,
this is Blair Thomas all over again, isn't it? Except he's a quarterback.
Well, it's the Jets.
Right.
This is what they do.
A horrible pick.
What do you mean? The Ken O'Brien, they always get the wrong guy. Like that's what's weird. That's why when people make fun of Tua, I'm like, Tua doesn't look bad. He just needs help. Wilson needs help and is bad.
No. If Tua was quarterbacking the Jets in that ball game, they win
20
that game.
games.
No doubt. They beat the Patriots with Tua quarterbacking
over
Zach Wilson. No, Zach Wilson has less experience. Maybe you would have said last year that Tua would have been detrimental, and it seemed that way. He was getting poor coaching. I don't know that Robert Saleh is doing the kind of things to Zach Wilson. I think he's hoping that it's Dusty Springfield time. He's wishing and hoping that the guy turns out to be good.
Yep.
It wasn't like Brian Flores deciding that, hey, I hate this quarterback, but I have to play him, so let me devise an offense that he's absolutely destined to fail in.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, let me assemble the worst offensive line. Hey, Greer, can we get rid of the guy that can block and bring in somebody from UPS? Didn't you have a delivery today? Sign that guy. Put him out there at center. My God, the stuff that happens in sports. All right, very interesting. John Congemi going to join us for the Pigskin Playbook in about 15 minutes here on the show. So we have that to look forward to. We'll discuss a lot of things, a lot of interesting developments, college football as well, because people get into that whole thing like every game is like a playoff game. Does USC, it's just kind of interesting, do they get beaten by Notre Dame in this final game of their regular season?
I hope not. Their defense is so dreadful. I wouldn't put it past them. And Notre Dame, as much
Notre Dame playing way better football than they were in the beginning of the year. Way better.
As much shit as we talked about early on when they were losing to Marshall at home, that's not the team they are now. And they actually play defense, and USC does not. USC hopes to get turnover. Yeah, but that's the thing. Even with the turnovers, they still give up 45 points. So, I don't know. I'm behind USC. Remember, I was the one before the season. I was like, we should keep
I have a spot on my heart for USC. I really do.
I actually like them. Yeah. So I don't know, man. And I'd love to see them in the playoff over freaking 2 SEC teams again. I don't know. The way that they struggled last week, it sort of scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
They used to have some monster defenses. I mean, obviously, when you have guys like Ronnie Lott on there, even Jeff Fisher was on some of those great USC teams.
Even the Carroll years, Ray Maualuga, like the Carroll years, he's a defensive guy. Like their defenses were great. The offense has got all the attention, but they're with Reggie Bush and Leinart and.
What was Lincoln Riley thinking when he went to the transfer portal? Not to get any defensive players because their offense is dynamic, no question.
Yes.
And they have plenty of people that can make plays. Obviously, they got 48 points there in UCLA. But did they lose to Notre Dame? Where is that game? Is that at South Bend? If it is, that would make that a very, very challenging proposition, I think, for the USC Trojans. And, that would be interesting because there's a lot of speculation that, that they win that. Who would they play then? Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game? Which would also be a tall assignment, even though Oregon screwed up that one game.
For USC. Oh, thank God. It's a home game for USC.
Yeah. You really want to see USC in the Final Four?
I want them in the playoff. I don't want, because it's shaping up that they're going to find a way to get LSU or Tennessee losing is good, or Alabama. Actually, Alabama's lingering, so they could.
Oh my God! They put Alabama in there. That's it. I'll never watch another college football.
I mean, look,
game
Oregon has their 2 losses now, and LSU is probably going to lose to Georgia. Unless Georgia tanks it, because
no
Georgia
guarantee on that. I wouldn't guarantee that Georgia victory. Would you?
Well, that's worse, though. That's the thing. If LSU wins, that's their way to get LSU with 2 losses, but they're playing great now. Georgia, who only has 1 loss, then you get TCU will probably be undefeated. So that's my thing. If USC was sitting there waiting in the wings, and the Ohio State Michigan winner, if USC only has 1 loss and wins the Pac-12, then even whatever LSU doesn't matter. They're not going to jump a 1-loss Pac-12 champion. But if they freaking lose Saturday, then it ruins everything, because another
goes out the window, and there'll be 4 SEC teams.
Yeah, exactly. That's their dream.
Because they'll eliminate Michigan and Ohio State for playing a stinker to a tie. Holy Bo Schembechler. I remember, what was it? Was it Michigan State and Notre Dame were playing a game? They were like 1-2 in the country. This was before any playoffs or anything like that was taking place. Oh, a long, long time ago. I remember I was out playing football somewhere, and I didn't really follow college football. Growing up in New York, we weren't big college football fans. So we didn't have college football to speak of. I mean, you could say, Syracuse was a big team in New York State, but they're 5 hours out of New York City. So we didn't give a flying one about college football when I was growing up. College hoops was big, whereas it's almost a non-entity here. It was huge in New York. We followed all of the teams, but didn't care that much about college football. But I remember it was Michigan State and Notre Dame, and they were playing 1 versus 2. And the game ended in a dreadful, just the most boring soccer-style 10-10 tie.
Oh, Jesus.
That, and I remember investing time watching that game, and I thought, wow, what a waste of 3 hours that was. Let me see Satch Sanders chucking it out of the corner there for the Boston Celtics. Forget about this. That 12-footer was deadly from the baseline. All right, we're going to come back with more. We want to tell you about Hialeah Park, though, and great things. I mean, the holidays are coming up. Well, what's better than having a big bag of extra cash, Santa Claus breath?
Exactly.
For the holidays, right? Whether you're Jewish, Hispanic, whether you're Italian, it doesn't make any difference. You can go to Hialeah Park and have a great time and have a chance to win.
Yep.
The machines, I would have to say, I'm not a big machine player. The Mustang got wiped out at Harrah's in Atlantic City. I mean, it was just a complete. She had one little hit there. She was running around with a voucher. Look, I know how to play. My system's working. And I'm like, there is no system to slot machines except lose your money.
Exactly.
For the occasional jackpot, believe me, they're going to grind you down to a nub by the time we keep accepting these trips. I'm okay with it because I have my own good time. But if you think you have a system to beat slot machines, unless you have magnets in your fingernails, you're fucked. But not at Hialeah Park. At Hialeah Park, man, guys are winning jackpots all the time. I saw another guy take one down for $9,000. It was like a casual thing, just like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Gave him $9,100 bills right there at the machine.
Nice.
Nice stack. Nice stack of sticks. That's the way to do it. So if you want to be in a winning environment, it's Hialeah Park. The casino is great. They have big jackpot payouts all the time. Poker room is extremely well run, as we often say. A very professional job there, right from the get-go. They had the right people in place there. Champion simulcasting room with all of the thoroughbred racing, a perfect place to punch away. You have special events coming up. February, they have another boxing show, and that's going to be a beauty. Because, a lot of young Cuban defector talent that they featured on these cards there with Leon Margulies and Louis DeCubas. Really starting to make some breakthroughs there. And you're going to get to see a lot of those guys not only showcased, but in competitive matches when that happens in February. So 2023 is going to be a big year at Hialeah Park. They always do the right thing. Great food and drink all over the place. Not at ballpark prices. You're not getting cremated. They're not going to charge you $32 for a small dish of lobster mac and cheese like they did at Gordon Ramsay's. Come on, Gordo.
Oh
I was tempted to waltz back into the kitchen and fire that at the chef. Hey, chef, $32 for this? What, are you kidding me?
Oh, God.
It's time that people spoke up. But you don't have to worry about any of that at Hialeah Park because you're just in there to have a good time, and that's what they want you to do, and they make sure that you're going to be given every opportunity to have a great chance and not only win money, but to party your eyeballs out, whether you're talking about the weeknights when they're open till 3 a.m., weekends when they're open till 5 a.m., Going to be a great holiday schedule as well of all kinds of great things happening there. And always have terrific things for the family. I mean, they just do it all at Hialeah Park, and they do it right. Terrific rewards program. Get yourself a player's card as soon as you walk in there. And if you have a player's card from another gambling institution or entity, trade it right in, and your status immediately will be the same. So that's a great consideration they give you at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. It's a Tuesday, 2 days out from Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir.
Very much looking forward to that. Going over to my son's house. He's
Nice.
cooking up a turkey. The kid's a pretty good chef on top of any other talents that he exhibits. And should be a nice family gathering. I'm hoping everybody else is looking forward to much of the same. And it's only a couple of days away now, which the countdown is on. But we're going to stick with it right through and have big things happening tomorrow as well on the show with both the Trivia Challenge with Dave Gurgles Gurgley, Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge, and Old School with Tony Segreto. Where's Tony spending Thanksgiving? I would imagine Vermont, no?
I think he's up there. Yeah, his kids go up there. Or his son comes up from Atlanta. His daughter comes, is it down or up?
Yeah.
I guess up.
Whatever. Yeah, it's all up.
From,
Unless you're like Bernie Sanders.
I guess
up.
they both go up because he's in Vermont, and they
Yeah.
go up to the cabin, and they have a freezing Thanksgiving, I guess.
How did Tony become this country boy, man? What happened?
I don't know. He loves the solitude and all that crap. I could do like 3 days of it, and I'm like, all right, let's go back to people.
Yeah. Oh, look, a bird. Wow. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to live like that. Once in a while, it's good, right? But, I need action. That's why, people always say, hey, you can move to like Melbourne and hang out here. I got friends up there and they love it, right? Well, I'm like, that's not for me, man.
I don't know.
I need action. I need things going on. I gotta be in a place where there are people and they're doing stuff and there's a vibe, and that's another good reason to get down to Hialeah Park. All right, coming back, John Congemi going to join us in just a few minutes here on the show. I'm Jeff DeForest. He is Mike Lubie Lubitz. That hour went by quickly. All I did was complain about soccer.
I know. I loved it.
Did I sound bitter about it? No.
Yeah, you hate it. I don't hate it like you do.
I don't hate it. I think it's a stupid game. I really do. I think it's a dumb game. I would never want to play it.
I like soccer. I think they could tweak it, but they don't care. Whenever I bring it up to a real soccer person, who are you, American, to ruin our game? I'm like, ruin your game? Wouldn't it make it better if there was a little more scoring?
Yeah, the ball.
20-15, but 6-4.
It's not even the scoring so much. There's no action.
Action, like more something.
The ball just goes back and forth. It's like you're passing, when a balloon is being, or like a beach ball is going through the crowd.
Yep.
At a ball game, and everybody. That's kind of what it looks like to me. Just a beach ball is flying around the field there, and they got how many guys are on each team? 11.
It's 11 on 11, I think. I think it's 11 on 11. I think.
That includes the goaltender?
Wrong. Yeah, I may be wrong. I'm doing football.
It doesn't matter. They could put 50 guys out there. They should have more players on the field. Just put 50 on a side. Well, just play dodgeball. That would be more fun to watch.
It's 11. It's 11.
So 11. That's what I thought. Yeah. All right. It's funny, though. It is true. Chadwick was right. Your friend Blake. My friend, too. But, he said it's every 4 years, people in the United States pretend they're interested in soccer and act like this is a great game. And it's not.
It's not.
It's a dumb game. There are games that are dumb, and this is one of them. You think Congemi played any soccer while he was at St. Thomas? I don't think so.
No. I mean, I'm sure he played in his life. He's close to my generation, but for you as a punishment, for my age, we played soccer. But, it was down on the totem pole. It was the fourth or fifth sport.
By the way, I know this answer.
Okay.
Because I've been in this situation that John was in. I'm watching TV last night, and they came on the CBS Sportscast with a little Dolphins bye-week aftermath and preview of what's coming up. And, naturally, John was his usual intelligent, concise self. But he was standing next to Kim Bocamper. Now, John's not a small guy. He played quarterback in the pros.
No, he's not a small guy.
He looked like a Lilliputian next to Bocamper.
Bocamper's one of those dudes that,
he's huge.
To this day, he walks anywhere. He's just like a freaking monster of a man. Maybe a Shaq is the one guy that's a bigger. But
I interviewed Shaq once on a live TV show, and I was standing up. I was assigned. This was at the Hard Rock, and my job was to find celebrities in the crowd And anybody, if it was boxers, great, but they really wanted to kind of show that a lot of different types came, and that this was a big celebrity driven event. So
Yeah.
Shaq's in the crowd, right? So naturally, they're saying, "Hey, go get Shaq," right, between fights here. And I have never felt so small as standing next to Shaq with a microphone, literally like one of
he
these.
actually stood up. You had him standing up. Oh no,
I was standing up and he was standing up.
Oh Jesus.
We were standing up by the ring, and I'm looking, and you're thinking, shoot, I should be thinking of the next question, but I'm thinking, how fucking tall is this guy? And I had been around Shaq before. I mean, I had been around him, of course, when he was with the Heat. And I told you I had that one experience with Shaq when I used to fly to New Orleans every week to do this was ahead of its time, some handicapping show that was on like a local cable service. And I had this deal where they flew me every Friday morning to New Orleans, and I was back like that afternoon. I didn't get to see any of New Orleans. And a car picked me up at the airport. It was real, I almost felt like Matt Lauer before the sex allegations. But, they pick you up at the airport in a limo. They take you straight to the studio. They were ready to go. Like the minute I got there, we were ready to sit down and do the thing. And I had to go zipping right back to the airport to catch like a 1 o'clock flight. But I was on the plane, and nobody took this flight. It was like 6:30 in the morning to New Orleans out of Miami Airport. And there was Shaq. And he was the only other guy, really. I mean, there were like 2 other people on the whole plane.
Oh, wow.
So I spent a long time not talking to Shaq. This was, prior to him even going to the Lakers. He was just kind of beginning his pro career. And couldn't have been any nicer of a guy. Very down to earth, considering. No, maybe that changed some. It didn't seem to, right? Shaq.
No, he was always cool.
Yeah.
The knock on him was you couldn't understand what the fuck he was saying. That was my only issue with Shaq.
Well, he did that deliberately, though. He was like Benicio del Toro in The Usual Suspects. He deliberately invented a language that nobody could understand. No, because he didn't want people bugging him in the locker room. So he would go, it was like Belichick, right? Belichick knows what he's doing. He does all of that stuff deliberately so he could walk out of the press guy. Hey, I don't want to sit there and answer like Barry Jackson's questions. Right? On that 3rd and 1, coach. You really think he wants to sit there and scrutinize himself in front of a bunch of people that he, I don't know, considers to be somewhat of a public nuisance, right? The media.
100%. Yes.
Is that what we are?
Whatever.
Okay, so the question of the day is, and you guys answered this on the chat line, and maybe you think it's really, a borderline, poor material, but is the game of soccer very much like getting a bad blowjob? I guess if you're a woman, you could say, and there are many guys that don't.
Yeah, guys probably are bad at oral.
The art of fellatio.
You'd be bad at oral if you're a guy. 100%.
Look, in the beginning, who's good at that? Nobody.
I was going to say that's not an easy thing.
Right?
as
this little thing you're trying to find in there with a magnifying glass. Where is it already? This G spot. What is this G spot you speak of? Well, you're certainly not on it there with your coarse, rasp-file tongue, DeForest.
Women aren't helpful at all.
Nothing. No, they won't help you.
They're not helpful.
They'll move. Make sure you can't find it. And it's tucked away on top of you, man. Everything with a guy is right out there in the open. It's like a male dog pees, right? Sticks a leg up, and there it is. There's a fire hydrant in retreat. Nice job, Skippy. Good job. Female?
Oh, my God. I'm glad Congemi isn't here for any of this.
Should we ask him? I don't know. We don't want to offend John.
He's
too stand-up of a guy.
Yeah, that's now.
Okay, well, that'll be a separate hour. What we doing with that?
Yes, very.
Although I think John is leaning towards, he would lean towards having a good time with this stuff, no doubt.
He has fun, but big show.
Not sure that's
very
his,
respectable, responsible business.
I don't expect them to go into Finsiders and say, "Hey, they call this football. It's more like a bad blowjob." And then Bocamper looks down on him and says,
"Dolphins pregame ever."
It certainly draws some attention.
Oh my God!
It's tough to do those pregame shows because there's not much new to say. There really isn't. I've done a zillion of them.
Well,
4 hours before every Dolphin game. Imagine that. 16 times a year, 4 hours before every Dolphin game. You didn't have to worry about the postseason once Marino retired. So it was only 16 games. But, you're out of material hour 1 of day number 1. Well, you know what? If they can run the ball. Okay, if they can run the ball, then they won't have to pass as much.
Thank you. There you
That's
go.
good stuff, man. That will enhance your enjoyment of the game. All right, we have John Congemi coming up. It's a Pigskin
sir.
Playbook brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Jimmer all over the media with the book out swagger. And, of course, we're going to get down there. I was envisioning it today, what it was going to be like to be down there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. We can't wait to get down there and talk to Jimmy. And, it might be appropriate if we do it right before the playoffs.
I was going to say December, actually, with all that's been going on. Does that give you crap? It would have been really hard to
holiday cheer, great weather.
Get down there. Yeah, if we
everybody else around the country is freezing their fanny off. Yeah. We're there in Key Largo, just enjoying ourselves with a cocktail and having a good time talking to Jimmy Johnson. All right, we're coming back with John in a moment. Now that. If you're successful passing the ball, Libby, might not have to use the running game. It's 8:04. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
We welcome to the show John Congemi, who joins us for Dateline Dolphins. John, how are you, my friend?
Defo, I'm doing well, and that's not the only thing that's going to reach a new height. I'll be at about 220, 225 after this football season if we visit too much. Because the food's outstanding down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. A little transition here as we feature the Pigskin Playbook with, you talk about getting a dose of respect into what otherwise was a show that was off the rails. We bring in the great John Congemi. And John, I felt like I was walking in your shoes last night. I turned on TV. I don't know if you were listening to the show earlier, and there you are in CBS. I'm always watching the CBS News. I know Jim Barry was a big fan of ours, and I enjoy their broadcast. I think they do a very professional job. And then on the sports, they have good guys, and you're part of it now, part of that package. And they say we're going to have our Dolphin preview coming up here with John Congemi and Kim Beaucamper. And I know, you're a decent-sized guy. It's not like, you were one of those Pat Hayden type of quarterbacks. That was never in question. Like, oh, geez, Congemi, he's too small to play the position. And I've stood next to Kim Beaucamper, and I could not believe how he dwarfed you on that shot. And it's sort of imposing, is it not? Standing next to Beaucamper in any situation, but especially like on TV when they say, okay, John and Kim, what do you think? And then you have to almost strain your neck to talk to this guy eyeball to eyeball. I've been there.
I went to the chiropractor right after that shot. Yeah. it is a bit
No.
imposing. You know, it's funny when Kim puts his arm around you.
Yeah.
That's the death move right there.
Yes.
That's why he was.
He's
ranked,
tapping you on the shoulder with his sword. I mean,
that's why he was ranked 498th in the world of professional wrestling.
Still one of my favorite Kim Camper moments because I had the wrestling magazine and we were on the air. I was doing one of those like 9-hour pregame shows, and we were in the booth there at the Dolphins radio booth at what is now Hard Rock Stadium. And, we're just killing time there. I mean, we're like 2 hours into this thing. We've already run through everything that could possibly happen in a game. And I'm thumbing through this magazine and I see him ranked. I think it was 490. Yeah, it might have been 498 out of 500 wrestlers.
Right
they had the top 500 wrestlers ever.
Yeah, that was the joke. He's in the top 500,
and that was all based on that Footy's Wingding, where I believe your man Marino had him set up.
Yes.
To take a fall against like a real ringer. They brought in some guy and they dressed him as a rabbi, and it turned out he was a real professional wrestler, I think. And they shoved Kim out there, and the next thing you know, he was in a snap mare. It was ugly, but no, it's good seeing you on the tube yesterday. You look great as always, and it's good to have you on the program today. And where do you stand with the anatomy of a bye week? You had nothing to react to from last week, except. Unfortunately, the Bills managed to come back and win that game. But here are the Dolphins atop the AFC East. And they have a stinking team coming in here, the Houston Texans, who were showing a little bit of fight, even though they were like 1-7-1 earlier this year. I don't know what they are now, 1-8-1, I guess.
Yeah,
But they got trounced by the Commanders, who I think have been one of the surprise teams in the NFL. But there wasn't too much to say. I mean, you would anticipate it's a 12-point line that this was going to be a fairly easy 8th victory for the Miami Dolphins.
It should be. The last time the Dolphins were favored this much, it was over the Houston Texans in their inaugural year, and I think they beat the Miami Dolphins back in 2000.
They did, yeah. In fact, that was a great occurrence for me. That was their second year of the Texans.
Something
Jay Fiedler threw a pick at the end of the game. Yeah,
yeah. I'm sure you had something on the line there on that play.
Well, it was huge.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I was in one of those. They used to call them suicide pools, but
yeah.
I guess that's not in vogue anymore to refer to it. So, what do they call it? Elimination pools. All right. So that week, that was the biggest spread on the board. It was the opening day, and the Dolphins were at home, and they were favored by 13, 14 points. And Houston beat them straight up. And of I think there were like 68 people in the pool. 63 of them had the Dolphins as their pick because they just wanted to get through week one. Survivor pool, they call it now.
Yeah, survivor pool. There you go.
So it was great. I was cut loose. I took the Bears, and they eked out a victory because we just figured, okay, everybody's going to have this game. Let's hope they lose. And it was one of those deals where I'm at the stadium, sort of representing the Dolphins. I'm going to do the post-game show. I'm going into the locker room after the game. I'm down on the field, and as I see the guy intercept Fiedler and come back for a score, I quietly turn to the polyman and go, "Nice pick."
Yeah.
and then we went on to win the pool, which was great.
That's awesome.
So I do remember that distinctly.
That's a good feeling to have, and I'm sure the Dolphins are going to have a good feeling coming off the bye week because they've been really good since Tua came back from being in concussion protocol and from the injury. I don't think he's thrown an interception since. They've punted just 3 times over the last couple of weeks. They didn't punt against the Cleveland Browns, which is the 5th time in franchise history that they've done that.
History, wow.
Yeah, and it hasn't happened since 2003. So it's one of those things where the Dolphins on offense, you feel like they're going to score points. They're going to do what they need to do. And I think the defense is starting to come around. 5 times this season, they've held the opposition to under 200 yards passing. So, you miss Byron Jones, but do you really miss him now? With young guys coming on the scene, Kohu and Crossan and Bethel, these guys are coming in and playing opposite X, and they're doing a really good job. Linebackers, you got a thumper in Landon Roberts, and you've got the equalizer in Jerome Baker. And now you've got, even though you lose Ogba for the season, you get Chubb in a position where you match him up with Phillips and Ingram and Wilkins on the inside with Sealer, and you can throw Van Ginkel in there. This team's loaded with talent. And it's just not guys, you're crossing your fingers when they get their reps that you're hoping they do a good job. They're all impact players. And week in and week out, you match up this roster against who they're going up against. Most of the time, you're going to take the Dolphins.
Well, let me ask you, because you played into the pros, high school, college. A bye week, a lot of the time, a bye week can hurt because you have momentum going. But we haven't seen the Dolphins have some injury issues. A guy like Byron Jones, who they're really hoping to get back in December. When the offensive line, they've had some injury issues. Tua himself, So for a team like this that was rolling, and they were playing as good as anyone in football, and they finally saw that compliment from their defense. Is a bye week a good or a bad thing?
I think it's 50-50, and it all depends on the timing and the pass offense. I think the offensive line has done a really good job with the patchwork guys that they've been playing better. They've been getting to the second level, and you've seen, the addition of Wilson added with Mostert gives you so much speed that they're getting to the second level. So it's a compliment to the play action pass and what Tua has been able to do on the outside with Hill and Waddle and the rest of the crew, Sherfield. They've done a nice job of complementing each other over the past month, especially the last couple of weeks since Wilson has been here, because he seems like he's a guy that you can't really contain. Mostert's going to hit that 1 or 2 runs a game, but this guy gives you consistency with speed, and he finishes runs as well. He can make you miss or run over you. So those are the traits you like to see. I just think it's more about Tua and Tyreek, really. Can they come back and continue on like the bye week was never here? I think those are the things you cross your fingers about, because sometimes when you have such fast guys and you're in a rhythm, it doesn't matter if they take the proper steps or go the right depth or come out of the break just the way you want to, because he's created so much room for the thrower to put the ball anywhere close, and he's going to come up with the catch. Now you're a week off. Does that gap widen with his mistakes on the route, or shortening of a route, or going too long? And the timing in the pocket has been so good. The ball's been out quickly. Is somebody cut free? Does somebody impede that process? And now you got to kind of go back and say, all right, who is it? The quarterback? Is it the receiver? Is it the line? You haven't had those problems. You haven't had to worry about anything really on offense. Call a play and let it fire. McDaniels had, free reign to go over his 24 plays that they rep during the week that they have on a script, and he can deviate from it. He can stick to it. It really doesn't matter, because they've been scoring. They haven't really punted the football, as I said. So they've been calling plays and they've been executing. You just hope that it's close to that, because if it is, going down the stretch of the season with 7 games left, the majority of them on the road, you have to, pack your defense on the road, but you also have to get first downs. And those are the things, you cross your fingers that they continue to happen for the Miami Dolphins.
McDaniel continues to be, and maybe even widens the gap as a departure between any prototypical head coach in terms of approach that we see in the National Football League. I believe he compared the bye week. I don't know if you guys were playing his clip at all, but I think that's where I saw it. He compared the bye week. People ask him the same question Lubie just posed to you: is it beneficial or not? And he said it's kind of like looking at a lottery ticket when you don't want to know what the winning numbers are.
Yeah.
Do you have a winner or not? We don't know. And I think, well, that's a strange response, but I do appreciate the gambling reference there by McDaniel. It seems like, as you said, though, John, that the defense has gotten better in spite of the fact that they've had, problems with personnel and haven't really, put together the guys on the field that you would have anticipated they would have liked to at the beginning of the season, with Byron Jones being one of those guys. And they've had other guys injured and compromised, like the X-Man. And so, they've managed, though, to get better defensively, or so it seems. And I don't know that they're just playing poor teams so much. Well, they've been able to stifle everybody in this 4-game stretch, which was so critical after they dropped to 3-3.
It has to do a little bit about their competition, but remember, Detroit and Chicago,
Detroit can score.
Those were 1-score games, in teams that you felt like, when you look at them on paper, we should beat this team. We should beat this team by double digits. They're not going anywhere. We are. And same way with the Cleveland Browns. You know, they come out with an opening kickoff around the 50-yard line, go right down the field and score 7-0. And you're thinking, oh, no, not the Cleveland Browns. And then, you kind of settle in and the Dolphins' talent take over. And at some point, you can score a lot of points on offense, but you got to shut them down on defense as well. And I think some of those young guys that I mentioned that are playing in unison, with X on one side and Holland and Rowe, now that Byron Jones, might be in the mix later. I don't know. I don't even know if the Dolphins, you always could need a player of the caliber of that.
Yeah.
But if he's going to take a while to get in rhythm, hey, we're already in rhythm on the outside. I think they're going to go with the guys that have got him there. And I don't know if he's even going to be available come the month of December. You're hoping he is, because it gives you another player to throw out there on defense. But right now, he's probably the least of the Dolphins' worries.
John Congemi with us here on the program, the Pigskin Playbook, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, so I'm getting on the Alta Conquer flight out of Atlantic City, and I'm boarding the plane. The Mustang, and we don't normally do this, but she actually requested, and we were willing to pay for this, a seat change, because there was a rather rotund woman who also had an unfortunately distinct odor. And she was in the aisle seat. Mustang would have been stuck in the middle. She had already, at the minute we got off the plane coming there, you have the same seats coming and going on this charter flight.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
The same seats, right? They just, it's good in some ways, but it wasn't in this case because of this sort of, horrendous situation with this, it looked like a sumo wrestler, this woman. I don't want to be too delicate about it. And as I said, she could have used like a breath mint and a deodorant. Would have been great. So she had already told me as soon as we got, a deep plane, Mustang turns to me and goes, "You have the middle seat on the way back." so we changed seats, and the reason I bring this up is because I was on the plane, and so now I'm in the window, and this woman is not only in the aisle seat, but she's also now encompassing most of the middle seat, even though the Mustang's not there. So I had to reach for my phone. This is just before we take off, and I see there's a text there, and it's from Jim Sarney. And he asked me if I was still in Atlantic City, if I could bet $20 on him or for him for the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, $20 investment there. I mean, they're not going to, break a guy like Sarney. I think he was the heir to a gigantic fortune from some dry cleaning business in New England. But, made plenty of money as a journalist himself. I mean, they're certainly capable of supporting himself.
He did his own work.
Yeah. I mean, he did well. He read books and papers, everything. But was that $20 going to be misguided, in your opinion? Or would you not say it was at least worth a slight shot, John Congemi, at this point?
I think it's worth a slight shot. You look at the teams in the AFC East, if the Jets win the game, they're in first place against New England. They didn't, they're in last place. So it's a one and a hook game, in the East. But as you look at the conference, Kansas City, they're still probably, the team to beat. Buffalo, they've had some warts over the last couple of weeks, but they're kind of finding their way around. It all comes down for the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, they have Houston this week where they got to take care of business at home. Then they have three road games.
That should put us at 8, by the way, which makes the rest of the schedule very significant. Yes,
it's very significant. I don't want to, make that a moot point. That's a big hurdle to climb for the Dolphins. But they go on the road to San Fran, who looks the part.
They look a little better. Yeah,
they look better, right? The Chargers, it could be hit or miss. I don't know. They're either going to score some points, it'll be competitive, or the Dolphins are going to roll.
Suspect defense with the Chargers.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I don't get it. They have so much talent.
I thought they were going to be a better team.
Injuries really have hurt them.
But the season is going to come down to the AFC East. You've got Buffalo on the road, cold weather, could be, terrible environment.
Yeah.
You've got New England on the road, and then the Jets come here the final week. Now, the worst thing that could happen to the Jets for the Dolphins is if they bench the rookie quarterback, because then
he was horrible.
Have a chance.
Did you watch that?
Yeah, I watched a lot of it.
Wow.
And it was just a 3-3 punt fest, back and forth. I was surprised the Jets didn't run the football to see if Belichick still would have made them punt, or they would have just said, you know what, let's just get to overtime. But they end up punting the football, and the rest is history for the Jets. But those 3 games will determine where the Dolphins are seated. I believe, do they host a game? If they host a game, enormous. If they have to go on the road in a cold weather environment again, let's go back and retrace to see how they did in Buffalo, how they did in New England, because notoriously the Dolphins don't play well in those spots. So
the next revolution in America, by the way, John, is not going to happen if Trump gets reelected and people start storming the Capitol building on a daily basis. It's going to be people revolting against the NFL and their relation with FanDuel if they continue to have just blind and inconsistent officiating. Because on that punt return, there's a clear block in the back. I have never seen such a clear example of it. And the last potential tackler would stop this guy at the 16 gets taken out from behind by a Patriot special teams player, and then the guy waltzes in and scores. Now, all right, you're watching a dreadful game, you're thinking, okay, thank God it's over. I don't have to go to overtime. But if you were betting the game, it was an entirely different story. Because if they call that penalty, then now Nick Folk, who had already missed 2 medium range field goals, is going to have to go out there and kick a field goal because there was no time left at that point. There were like 5 seconds left to go in a ball game. And so if he misses that, now you're in overtime if you're a Jet fan, in a significant game in terms of the standings. And as you said, very impactful on all of the dynamics of what's going to happen in the postseason to many teams, possibly. And, at the worst, if you're a bettor, he kicks the field goal, and you're exuberant about the fact that and exhilarated by the fact that you covered 3 and a hook with the Jets. So I mean, that was appalling to me. How can they continue to be in the gambling business if they're going to have that kind of inconsistency in officiating? Is what we talked about. All of the roughing the passer, but this happened in plain sight in front of everybody. And the announcers, they skipped it. I don't know how you would have felt what your approach would have been.
There's another crew that skipped a call completely.
Yeah.
That game was definitely a block in the back.
Yeah.
Announcers don't say anything.
Nothing.
Touchdown, game's over, New England wins. Illinois at Michigan. It's 4th and 3. Michigan's got the ball. They run a rub pick play in front of the Michigan bench.
Blatant.
The Michigan wide receivers blocking 2 defenders from the Illini down the field. The back goes into right off the ball down the field, 5 to 7 yards off the ball. The back goes into the flat. They complete the pass. I think it was Blackledge and
God, I can't think. Oh, is it?
Oh no.
The guy from Boston.
I was going to say, what's the legendary announcer's son, McDonough, right? Sean McDonough.
Yeah, Sean McDonough.
So Sean and Todd are doing the game. They don't say a word.
Yeah. Let me ask you,
it.
You've done broadcasting for years.
Yeah.
Will they tell you don't talk about refs? Is that something that's ever discussed?
No, never.
Talk about the refs. And
never. I've never had a producer, director, VP ever come up and say.
That's what you're there for, is to make these comments.
You do that all the time, and I don't get it.
Well, I'm sure everybody at home, if you're a Michigan fan, you didn't say anything. But Illinois fan, you're on your couch or your chair, you're going, oh, that's coming back. There's no doubt. And it's funny because Bielema, the head coach, put it out on Twitter, I think, later that day, saying was not called, and he gave the officials all an earful, going off. But all they're going to do is go, yeah, you were right on Monday. When they send the clip in, they send it back.
No,
you were right, but you could have cost us the game.
Exactly.
There are always things of that nature that'll be discussed after any sporting competition, and especially seems so in football. And the tough part about that is it's just like a guy that's blowing balls and strikes all night, and then calls a guy out on a pitch that he'd been calling a ball all night long, and you see the batter turns around and he's livid, and manager gets thrown out of the game. But if you're going to call some of this, really borderline stuff early in ball games, you can't let go of the blatant stuff at the end. And that's a thing that, I think fans, even, honest fans will look and say, hey, you know what? It happened with the Dolphins a couple of times I forget. I guess it was 2
Chicago.
weeks back. Yeah,
Chicago,
where they
yeah.
just benefited. I mean, from both calls, that one
Yeah.
that wasn't made and one that was. On a pass interference situation, and you're thinking, hey, if you're going to call like suspect penalties early in the game, then you can't let this blatant stuff go late in the ball game. Especially, I mean, it's magnified by the fact that was not only a huge differential in the overall scheme of the National Football League playoff and standings and dynamics, but I mean, it killed a lot of bettors. It really did. And it benefited some, but it's like a bad call at the track where you've seen a horse taken down for the same type of foul a million times, and then they let one go, and you're like, okay, the stewards were probably punching tickets right after the race on that. Hey, is Pittsburgh going to ruin Miami's season and chance to go to a bowl game? Coming in, aren't they coming into town this week? Pittsburgh.
They are.
Is it here?
Saturday night. I think it's Saturday night, 8:00.
No, are you being honored at halftime by Stephen Ross?
No, unfortunately.
Stephen Ross.
I mean, you could be Tim Tebow in this situation.
That's right. The only problem is Stephen Ross wouldn't have any idea who I am. I've worked there for, I don't know.
Oh, really?
Years.
He doesn't recognize your great work there and all of the stuff you've done with the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Huh?
Like a zombie would walk right by me.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
I don't know. It's as bad as Miami is, it's a bad matchup for Pitt because they don't score points.
Oh, really? Get out of here. You're
No, I
skeptical?
think so. I think it's a bad matchup for the Panthers because they don't score enough points on offense. Their defense can get after the quarterback. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't see this game getting into 28-24 range. Maybe it's 2017, 2014, 2013, something like that. The Pitt would have to, do some things on offense in their passing game to make it really, a game that the Panthers could win. I don't see.
Wow, you don't even see him winning necessarily.
Not necessarily. No,
I'm figuring it's blowout city and that's it. And Mario Cristobal has all off season to explain.
This game is going to revive Mario Cristobal, I think.
Oh yeah, wow.
Oh wow, okay.
You have little faith, Johnny. What happened, man? Did you get some kind of negative
I'm just going
feedback
reverse
on your last
psychology.
contribution to Pittsburgh?
I'm building reverse psychology right now.
I can't imagine.
No, but I really do think the Panthers are a better team, but I just don't see them scoring a lot of points.
How would they won their last few? They haven't won their last. I thought they won their last few ball
They
games.
beat Duke 28-26, I think.
Right. They beat Syracuse.
They beat Syracuse.
Handily.
Syracuse was on a downturn. They lost 2, 3, 4
they
in
fell
a row,
apart.
I think.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, they've lost 5 in a row now. They started out 6-0. So much for my resurrection of the Larry Zonka days at the Cuse. That's not happening. I'm surprised that you're skeptical about this ballgame. I really am. I don't know if you're just, like you say, trying to go reverse psychology.
Well, the one thing I'll guarantee about the game.
Will you be on the sidelines for this game?
No, unfortunately, I'm not going to be in town, or I would have liked to have gone to the game. But the one thing I'll guarantee is number 0 for the Hurricanes will get a personal foul in this game to continue his streak of like 8 in a row.
Right.
He'll make a horrible play late and it'll be 15 yards against the Hurricanes. I'll guarantee you that.
See, I'm thinking the Canes go down. I was so unimpressed with their play against Clemson. I know Clemson seemed to, everybody's been boning up on Syracuse, and Clemson had its best game when they played the Cuse, even though Syracuse threatened them early in the game. But for the Hurricanes, I mean, to just be a listless, lifeless, no factor in any game this late in the season under the new coaching staff, I thought was alarming. I really did. So I would have given them no chance against Pittsburgh.
I didn't give them any chance against Clemson, and they kind of hung around. And I don't know if it was, I think they got 2 or 3 turnovers right away in the third quarter to kind of make it a game. It was a 2-touchdown game.
Yes.
And you felt like the Hurricanes, if they did anything, they might be able to hang around. But it was more of, I thought their defense put their helmet on the football a couple times. They made some nice plays, but it was more of the mistakes of Clemson and the way the defense of Miami played that kept them around. But in the fourth quarter, the separation took over.
Remember when you had the belief, though, that no matter what the circumstance, it could have been Oklahoma up 21 in the fourth quarter, and you just had the faith and the belief that the Hurricanes could dig their way out of any grave and come back, and find a win. And now, when you see them get behind by 3 points, you're like,
Exactly.
it's over. Which, wow, I mean, that's such a radical departure from where I mean, that's one of the things. It's like Jimmy, titled his book "Swagger." It's one of the. I don't know that it's swagger so much, but that belief. If it's not there, I mean, it's very hard to come by.
It doesn't matter how much swagger you have if you don't have players.
Yeah,
you
that's
can't
true.
win, and they don't have enough players.
Didn't you always feel like when you were playing on, no matter what, you could be down like 10-0 in a game of 1-on-1 to 11, and you thought, okay,
I got
make a couple of jumpers here from the top of the key. I still have a shot.
I got a chance.
Yeah.
I think the mentality's there, but I don't know if they have enough guys. I mean, for as much as they've talked about their defensive line, I don't know. I don't see it.
Well, let me ask you, because that's my thing is Canes fans, and look, again, we've talked about this. What they put out for him and the staff, they're not firing the guy. He's not in the hot seat. I'm not saying he is. The expectations nationally, the expectations.
Although Ed Ogeron was in town.
Yeah, his son's on the staff. So, anyways, I'm not going to say that that's what their expectations were. Maybe inside the program, I've talked to people that said, "Well, you don't understand what's going on inside," which I don't. Well, why weren't they saying that outside? But whatever, fine. So they felt it would be a tough year. Okay, cool. For me, though, looking at it from media or fan standpoint, I understand he's going to be here. But why would there be confidence in him? What you're saying aligns with what Kane fans are saying now. That, look, we believe in Mario because these aren't his kids. He's going to get his kids in there. Okay. But with these kids, shouldn't he have at least done something with them? Weeded this out before this season to at least just go young. That's what Norvell did. Norvell, before that first year, went uber young.
Right.
And they were not good. But every week they got better because they were his kids. Why did Cristobal not do that? He kept a lot of that roster together to try and win now is what I think it is. And it backfired. And they're not getting better. And now he's doing the rebuilding thing. And that's my problem is, what you're saying is a lot of what Segredo's saying. Well, they're going to rebuild. He just needs his players. But he wasn't saying that before. Why waste a year? To me, it feels like they wasted a year and didn't do in year one what they're probably going to do in year two.
Well, I think they should have been better with the change of coaching staff, with the change of philosophy. No matter what you have, they didn't have stability at quarterback. And anytime you don't have stability and a guy that's going to be consistent week in and week out, that was probably the only position you felt, hey, at least we have a guy, a Heisman caliber quarterback that's going to be able to at least mask a lot of the things that we're deficient at. Well, a lot of passes were dropped early in the season, and then the next week, a lot of passes were off the mark. Then that guy gets hurt, and you have flux at your most important position, along with the offensive line going to the third center, seventh guard, whatever you're deemed, is at fault with their offense. There's a lot of things. It just wasn't one thing. If it was just the quarterback and they removed Van Dyke from the equation and played the other two guys and everything was solid around that position, yeah, you might be able to mask it a little bit against some of the lesser teams in the ACC. But when the problems are dropping the ball, fumbling the football, allowing sacks, allowing pressures, 3 and out. Now the defense can't hold up their end because they're breaking, before they should. It's a domino effect, and the Hurricanes had that domino effect for multiple weeks in a row, and now it's you're as a head coach, you almost feel a little helpless. The only thing you have that the most energy on that team right now are the hype guys coming out at the TV timeouts and get off the field. I would tell that guy, shut the fuck. Get out of here, man. Go back on the sidelines. It's just like it's the most meaningless thing gets the most attention. And I'm a fan and I'm noticing that. Get on the sidelines. Let the coach coach. You guys, you don't need to run off the field. It's 28-3. We're doing our best, but we're getting our asses kicked. I don't need you to hype me to come off the field on a TV timeout. I just think that there's a lot
yeah.
of other issues that need to be addressed other than these guys.
Mario's facial expressions are starting to resemble Jerry Faust when he was on the sideline there for Notre Dame. I was just like befuddled by what was going on out there. The bookies don't share your concern, John, with Pittsburgh. They have them as 6.5-point favorites on the road for
I'm
this
just
game.
saying, next time we talk, it'll be a closer game than that, I think. Or Miami's gonna, I just don't know. I don't feel. I watched Pitt now for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They're better than Miami, but I don't really trust how they're getting it done. I can't remember the kid's
I think
name.
Charlie Partridge is salivating right now, thinking about sacking these UM quarterbacks.
That's the thing.
Well, that's the advantage Pitt has.
Yeah.
The advantage Pitt has, if they can get to the quarterback and they can stop Miami's running game when they try to, offset that pressure, that'll be the biggest key to the game. If the Panthers get 4 or 5 sacks, that's where they can control the line of scrimmage. I just don't trust them scoring in the 20s this week unless they get a defensive score.
All right. That's fair, man. John Congemi, I figured you'd be, playing a vuvuzela here on the show, blowing a horn for Pittsburgh as they knock. I like that. Lubie's cat even getting an opinion in on the show. Hey, I tell you what. I mean, cats love seafood, but all kinds of cats like us. We love seafood too, and a fine place to get it, of course, is Jimmy John's Big Chill. And now, what is considered? You're sort of, on the fringe there of the restaurant game with your brother running the place, and Amanda, his wife, as a general manager. Is this considered the transition into the season for people in the hospitality business right after Thanksgiving?
I think so. I think that's considered the transition, and I don't even know if it matters down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Show because the place is always buzzing. There's always action. There's live music on the weekends. You get the sports bar to, from the World Cup to NFL to college football. They've got it all. And then you've got the tiki bar outside with the restaurant in between. We've got from fresh fish to chicken to pizza to the nachos just anything that you want you can get at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And the best part about it is the service. It's first class, the food's first class, and the views are spectacular. So if you haven't been there, do it. It's right there beyond the bridge in Key Largo on the bay side, and just a great place to either use as a destination or coming and going if you're going deeper into the Keys. Just a great spot just to go have a drink, have something to eat, and relax and get first-class service.
Coming back from a successful fishing trip, you got the boat in tow.
Yeah.
Stop in there, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, before you go on that little stretch and hit Florida City. What a pleasure it is. I like being about, between the 4 and the 5 foot marker there in the pool, kind of leaning against the wall with a cocktail and just watching all of the action there, listening to the bands. It's a great place to relax, and it's going to be hopping during the season. So make your plans. And what a great way to round off the holiday weekend, John. I know you sound like you're leaving town for the holidays. Are you going?
Going to visit my family, my wife's family in Toronto for a couple of days.
Nice.
Oh yeah, wow! Yeah. Listen to you, Mr. World Traveler. Very good. All right. And now is it freezing up there? Did they get hit with all this wall of snow that hit Buffalo?
No, they missed the snow because they're on the other side of the lake, but it's still pretty cool. Yeah.
It's a pretty big departure from Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
I'm going to have Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in my mind as I put on my trench coat.
You're going to be chilled yourself. Like a frosted mug. But no, and that'd be the place to go. Just grab a frosted mug of beer there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Mile Marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. If you're thinking about coming to Florida, too, you're watching us from other parts of the country or around the world, great accommodations. And look into that at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. All right, a lot more to talk about with John Congemi here. It's very, very, we were looking for inspiration earlier in the show, and an inspiring week of football coming up. A lot of juxtaposition possibly taking place there. You always like the juggling that goes on with the teams that are at the very top when it comes to the college football playoff, and more NFL action to discuss as well. John Congemi's Pigskin Playbook continues in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Your neck's okay though after looking up at Bo Kemper?
Pretty good.
Every now and then I would get one of those crooks, and then you couldn't move. You had to turn your whole body. Man, he's tall.
I'm glad it was only a 2-minute segment.
It's 8:42.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Our good friend John Congemi, another fine job on Dateline Dolphins, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in Key Largo. And I can't wait to get down there, John. I know that. But I wanted to get your thoughts, being a scratch golfer and a guy who aced the hole 16 at Augusta National in the company of the great Dan Marino, and a legendary story associated with that. If you had been John Rahm and coming off of 18 and they told you you were going to be disqualified from the tournament, even though you were leading by 6 shots, he could have gone around the course with a putter and still won the tournament. Your thoughts would have been what?
Restrain me. Somebody hold me back because I'm going to choke this guy. That would have been my initial reason. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe it when it came out, and just horrible luck for John Rahm.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo, joined by Lubie, on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. We have a big weekend of football on tap, and it gets underway early. Of course, you have the triple header in the NFL, the Turkey Day special. We have John Congemi with us here, and it's the Pigskin Playbook, also known as Dateline Dolphins. With John, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, and that's mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Let's zero in on this. What's your approach to watching football on Turkey Day? Now, you're going to be with the wife's family.
Yeah.
They know that you were involved in football your entire life, and not only played at a high level, but were a very successful broadcaster, still are, covering football. Do you use that, as an alibi, like Lubie and I have many, many times? I got to watch the games, man. That's my job.
It works for Defo.
Or do you sit down with the family and figure, I'll take a pass on the Lions game? What's your approach?
Yeah, normally I would probably hunker in for all 3 games. This one I'm going to have to pick and choose probably, which is okay. I'll probably let the Lions slide that game and maybe just keep an eye on it from wherever I'm at in the living room or the kitchen, but hone in on one of the later games. Probably that's the way to do it. That would be smart on my behalf.
Yeah, I mean, it was a concession. The Lions game was always good, and this was back in the day. I'm so old. I mean, I want to say there was only one game on Thanksgiving, and then the Cowboys started playing. I forget what year that was. So that was some salvation, because when the Lions were playing at that point, you could go out and toss a football around with the one
Exactly.
uncle that you had that actually, liked sports.
Exactly.
And that was a perfect time to do it. And then, have your meal, and then you could abandon the family and watch the second game on TV. Now, the Bills are involved here, and the belief is back, at least with the bookies, in spite of the fact the Lions have won 3 in a row.
Right.
And I was saying earlier this week, I mean, I'm watching Dan Campbell on the sidelines. He really does look like the crazed deckhand on Deadliest Catch, doesn't he? The guy that's willing to do anything. It doesn't matter. The wind's blowing 100 miles an hour. He's up there on the masthead like he's George Clooney in A Perfect Storm repairing something, and then comes down and bites the head off of a fish. And he has that look. But They weren't horrible, except for a very brief stint there. They started out the season looking like they might have improved vastly. They were scoring a lot of points. Then they had a couple of really bad games. And now they've won, I think, 3 in a row. So should they be 9-point dogs at home Thanksgiving Day to the Buffalo Bills, who have been radically displaced by that snowstorm and actually were in Detroit and probably stayed there for the last couple of days?
They went back, Sarni said. They went
Oh,
back.
they went back? Wow, okay.
They went back, yeah.
That's even stranger. I mean, is it not?
Yeah.
That's a lot of travel.
It is a lot of travel, and it's a lot of pressure on the Bills because the Lions are playing better at home.
Yep.
I think, obviously the Bills are a better football team, but the Lions can score, and it's all about the Bills' defense. If the Bills' defense, you're going to be in the 20s with Josh Allen anyway. You're going to get to the 20s. So if the Bills' defense can find a way to rattle Goff, and I think the Lions get their receiver back this year, their first draft pick from Alabama.
Williams, Jameson
Williams. I think he gets back this week. Now I don't know if he's going to play, but he's eligible to play this week and ready to go after off-season surgery.
Yeah.
So that gives him an added dimension if he is with speed, and that's what the Lions need on offense. So I just think the Bills are a better team. They played there last week. Going right back feels like a home game because I'm sure the Buffalo fans are going to travel again.
Yeah,
they're crazed. I love the Bills Mafia trying to get some of the players out of the driveways with the snow blowers.
You think that happens in Miami? That
No.
they would have dug Marino out of a snowstorm, get him to a game? No way, right? They would have hired somebody to do it.
Yes, but I think the Bills are just. It's time for the Bills to start playing playoff football, and it might be a tough one for the Lions, even though they're vastly improved.
Dan Campbell's a trip, huh? I know he's got a couple of wins now that he's strung together, but seriously, a downside, losing record, and yet appears to be in no jeopardy there. That they love him. He may end up owning a Ford factory by the time his career is done. But they love this guy, and
They like
it wasn't going so great, just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, how can you not love a guy? His passion, you feel it. I mean, you hear it every day.
Yeah.
It's the same mantra, but it's not just lip service. This guy means it. This guy cares. This is his life, and he's showing these players on a daily basis what it means to him to kind of harness that emotion and put it into productivity on the field. And bringing it to practice and bringing it to your meetings and doing that, it kind of gets ingrained in you. And if you believe in what he's saying, it's tough not to go out and play for your head coach. And that kind of verb, it kind of goes through the whole team. It just gets in your soul. And when you have a guy like that, that you believe in and you trust. So I think it's contagious with the Lions right now. And I think it's showing in their play.
He has a look of frustration that eclipses those I used to get from my ex-wife, which it was involved. This was a very rocky relationship. At its very surface, and then she had that same look of frustration. I literally had I been aware of Dan Campbell at the time, I could have easily made that equation. All right, the Cowboys played great last week. The Giants not so hot, so that game in the NFC East, the Cowboys are favored by 8.5, and I think well deserved in that one. Daniel Jones looked very, beyond sub-pedestrian in that game after showing signs of life. And the Vikings had just a horrible game. Can Belichick pull this off and go into Minnesota and win a ball game? And would he not then be? Along with Ron Rivera in Washington, would he not be an offbeat candidate for Coach of the Year? Winning with what people thought was essentially garbage, much like Pete Carroll is doing in Seattle.
Well, it's going to be tough. I think that Dable has done a really good job with the Giants. I think the Giants ran into the weather. I don't think they handled the weather really well, and I think the Lions did.
Yeah.
And I think Jones is going to be better, in a dome type setting. I think the Giants will be better in a dome type setting, but I was surprised at how good the Cowboys looked.
Yeah,
And
they look great.
They looked terrific. And
Yeah.
the 1-2 punch at running back now.
Oh,
You've got the receivers playing well. Dak's back and healthy, and that defense is getting after the quarterback with Parsons. And it's a good team. It's a really good team. So it should come down to the wire. The Jets and the Giants and the Cowboys in the East. Along with Philadelphia. I don't see them slipping too much. It'll be fun to watch that NFC East.
When you look at a team like the Rams, what happened? I know you don't study the NFL like you used to, but I know you do still watch it and cover it and are involved in it. Like both Defo and I saw them in the Super Bowl. I get it, maybe not the Super Bowl, but they're horrible. Like, how do you go from that and the added players? Allen Robinson was supposed to be a nice addition at receiver.
He disappeared the whole season. I don't think
nowhere to be found. You bring in Wagner from the Seahawks, who didn't look old last year, to make up for losing Miller. Like, I'm befuddled that they're this bad. I get it, not winning a Super Bowl, being this, they're horrible. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, they look disinterested, and their quarterback's been beat up all year. It seems like he came into the year with elbow problems. They were talking about him in the preseason not looking the same and not being the same. And, even though you have Aaron Donald, he can only do so much. The defense is not, Ramsey looks disinterested. It just looks like a team that was on a Super Bowl high and never went back to the grindstone and said, it's even harder to come back and when you're the team to beat, when you have a target every week on your back, it's tough to do. And they didn't handle it very well. And they just don't look like, they don't look hungry. They don't look hungry, and they don't look desperate every week. They look like, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we won last year. You're not really supposed to do it again. That's when I watch them. That's what I feel like.
After these classic shootouts that we've seen between these two teams, the Chiefs are 14-point favorites this week in a heads-up matchup with the Los Angeles Rams, and they're sitting there at like 3-7 after 10 weeks, and you're wondering if McVay is going to be still selling soup or on a soup line after this season. Maybe he should have taken that announcing job at $20 million a year. I mean, it seems like he does love to coach, though. So maybe this all. But I thought beginning of the year, I didn't see any reason why they wouldn't have an excellent chance to repeat of at least going to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. So that shows you how dead wrong we could be, John Congemi.
Yeah.
And also this week, one college game I wanted to get a little quick viewpoint from you on USC and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, after USC, that was a thriller. I happen to be following a little text thread with a friend of mine who used to be a UCLA cheerleader many years ago back in the day. Still very attractive, but very much involved. I mean, hates USC like poison. Like she would strangle a song girl and burn her sweater if she had the chance. And this was a rivalry that USC dominated when I was living in California.
Yeah.
And the last many years, I mean, both teams were kind of sort of mid-pack. They're in the Pac-12. Nothing like the illustrious, times they enjoyed before. But UCLA was always kind of the redheaded stepchild there, like the Angels were to the Dodgers in California when it came to college football. Now they play a thriller in Manila. And USC, everybody knows they have no defense, and that was exposed because they get 4 turnovers in a game, and they still give up 45 points.
Right.
Which is amazing, I mean, if you think about it. But they play Notre Dame, and we have to give this Marcus Freeman some credit because Notre Dame, after being embarrassed early in the year, losing to Marshall in South Bend, has played representative and decent football since. And they, unlike the Hurricanes, have improved under this coaching staff, a first-year coaching staff, during the course of the season. So are they in there with a shot against the USC Trojans?
They're going to need some help. They're going to need some turnovers of their own because I don't know. USC seems like they're scoring 40-plus every week, right? And there's no slowing them down with the weapons that they have. So it'll be a tough chore. Now, the thing that can slow USC down is weather. They haven't really played, and I think it's at Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they're home. USC.
Oh, they're home.
Yeah.
Well, it's at USC.
I read
they're favored by
then.
5.5 at home.
That's
so the weather
be
shouldn't be too prohibitive. It should be pretty nice.
That'll be a tough task then for Notre Dame. Notre Dame would like to see the game in the 20s, but USC doesn't play games in the 20s. So I think they'll give a good effort. I think they'll play well. They may hold their own for a couple quarters, but it's tough to to eliminate all of those pass receiving options that USC has, and the quarterback's playing. He's playing just as good or better than anybody in the country.
All right, I have to ask you this because you've had a vast array of athletic experiences at a very high level. I mean, your viewpoint on soccer. Is it a disgrace that people refer to it as football?
I would say yes. I would say it's soccer.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it makes sense because it is a game that you play with your feet. So it would be football in that sense, more so than even American football is, which is a game that you play largely with your hands. And, I mean, they're throwing a ball, you're catching it, you aren't running. I mean, but what's your thought about this? I mean, are you like many who feign interest in the World Cup every 4 years because we're Americans and we know nothing about the game, but we try to pretend we're sophisticated enough to have an appreciation for it?
I'm in the line that enjoys catching a few games at the World Cup because it's on and it's on at odd times, and I can watch something
that helps. That helps.
It's kind of okay. Let's check it out.
Sure.
I was at my son's house and saw 15 minutes of the United States game, and it was kind of cool. I thought it was nice, to see, the Wales guys flopping around there and
oh my God, what a disgrace.
How they got stepped on or just, briefly cleated by somebody, and then really seeing a guy get hurt and all of a sudden he pops up and he's running full speed,
Yeah.
So
it's great.
I enjoy watching it. But it's not something, if it happened every year, I don't know if or every season, I don't know if I'd watch it as much, but I enjoy watching the World Cup because the fans are in it. It's got a great atmosphere to it.
That's true.
For that, I like it.
I mean, from a strategic standpoint, as compared to any other sport that you ever played, isn't it the most ridiculous game? It's kind of like we were saying, when the beach ball is being bounced around the stadium and it comes to your section and you try to hit it with your head and you go, hey, and that's it. And then the wind blows it down into section 107. I mean, the strategy of the game, everybody's always talking about it like it's this, a deeply involved intellectual chess match. I don't think there is a bunch of guys running around aimlessly, don't you?
Yeah, it's going reverse. And then at the most inopportune time, they kick it forward. It seems
once
like
in a blue moon,
when they have numbers, they back it out.
Yes.
And when they don't have numbers, they throw it into the box. I don't know. I was brought up drinking Miller Lite at Lockhart Stadium, watching the Strikers in the West End zone.
Oh,
so when I was not old enough to drink Miller Lite and go to the game. So I kind of have a fond memory of soccer here and watching it as a kid. So I enjoy the World Cup when the countries get so passionate about us, what that's their life. When you look at the fans in the stands,
they love it.
I couldn't believe the passion, for, to get a corner kick. It was unbelievable.
I know, yeah, some crazy shit where the guy's gonna, trying to bounce it in off his head. If you get lucky, he doesn't lose an eye. And then the goalies make like one save a game, and they get like a game ball, for doing that.
Exactly.
That's my favorite part of the game is when the goalies make the save and they just start bitching at everybody.
Yeah, they always point.
Get out of here. It's
I'm not
great.
going to do anything. Hello.
Yeah, I'm thinking Marino running down the field to yell at Duper and Clayton for not clearing the defensive back by more than 6 yards. The spirit of it was good. I will say this about the Strikers, because when I first moved to Florida in 1981, the Strikers were the only other pro team here in town, and you really didn't have that. The Hurricanes hadn't quite established this, they were just about on the precipice of this era of greatness under Schnelly in 83. And the Strikers were like the secondary consideration behind the Dolphins to cover as a sportscaster here in town. And I wasn't used to that, but the characters on the team, including a guy
were great.
Fortunately, through Jim Sarney, I had the chance to sit down with not that long ago at one of the local restaurants here, Ray Hudson. I mean, they were so colorful, these guys, that it was actually a lot of fun to follow that team.
Yeah.
And we started to care about it very briefly, and then of course the NASL went bankrupt. But yeah, They folded very quickly. How long did they last? I don't even remember.
I don't
And I never thought it
remember.
would catch on. I never thought it would catch on here in America.
It got me through high school. That's
at
for
any
sure.
level.
That was fun.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's interesting to conceive of a man of your dignity and class, and that you're sneaking into a soccer game with a 6-pack of Miller Lite
Oh, that was
at 15.
awesome. It was awesome. Had a great
All
time.
right, when are you leaving for Toronto? And I want you to have a great trip.
Yeah, thank you.
You're flying out on Thanksgiving Day? Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm flying out.
Wow.
And
Private jet?
coming back.
I mean, I hope private jet. Marino?
No.
Marino.
No.
Going up to see my family that lives up there. So can't wait to see him.
Oh, what airlines goes up there? I mean, you're not on Frontier or one of those ones.
I'm going Air Canada.
Canada's solid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're reliable. Yeah, everything up there is reliable. All right, very good, John. You have a great holiday. We love you, and fantastic job.
You too, guys.
We wish you the happiest of Thanksgiving holidays.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We'll talk again next week. Thanks so much for being with us, John Congemi, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
All right, going to be great, man. Football all over the place. I'm looking at the. Surprising, Lubie, that I'm looking at the odds page here in the New York Post, but that's kind of where you get the schedule. And they start out, let's see, college football doesn't go till, they have a Tuesday game tonight, right?
Nice.
2 of them. Miami of Ohio against Ball State. Am I looking at last week's thing? No. Miami of Ohio against Ball State.
It's the same teams every week.
Okay, and Ohio against Bowling Green.
Yeah, there's only like what 8 teams.
There's only 4 teams in the conference. Is that what it is?
Many teams in the MAC, so you get that's the thing. You get
kind of like the old 6-team NHL, right?
Yeah, Ball State, Miami, Ohio, Bowling Green, Ohio. There you go.
Wow, I was not impressed with Ball State last week, and they're only 2.5-point dogs to Miami on the road. Is Miami of Ohio any good?
I have no idea.
Obviously not.
The professor. I mean, the professor knows his MAC.
I'm not familiar with Bowling Green. Ohio looked pretty good in their game against Ball State last week. I was at the sports book there at Harris at the time, and naturally was involved in 3 out of 4 losing elements of a parlay. We did get Michigan State home in basketball. That was it. Down to fucking tubes with Duke. Imagine a professor losing with Duke. That had to really be painful. Not only did he have to, just change religions. He's just done the big board on what schmucks these guys are.
Exactly.
And now he's willing to lay 2 in a ball game where they ultimately got clobbered. Unbelievable. That has to be frustrating. All right, tomorrow we're going to do a doubleheader here. We're going to have Dave Gurgly with the Highlight Park Trivia Challenge in the first hour of the program, so you can play that. And then Tony Scretto, all school. And that'll be good going into Thanksgiving to get a dose of positivity.
Yes.
With the ultimate, optimist and, seeing things through, as Mayo would say, rose-colored glasses, Mr. Tony Segreto. Well, what better way to go into Thanksgiving? I'm going to feel like a pilgrim, man, by the end of the show. It's going to be great. Miles Standish will have nothing on me. Remember he had the slick back hair? He was great. All right, Lubie, you have a good one. We'll see you later on today, 12 o'clock. The lunchbox. We're from home base today on the lunchbox. Big, Rowan, I still have that kanish in the fridge.
Yeah, I had a lot of leftovers. They treat us well on these remotes.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Oh, you took home like the house. That was great. What'd you have? You had eggs Benedict, corned beef hash.
Eggs Benedict, was corned beef hash, hash browns, French fries.
Bagels. That first bite that Mike took of that sandwich, that thing was... When you have a sandwich on a bagel, man, that's like a big mouth type of proposition, is it not?
It is. Yes, it is.
You have to be like a Goliath grouper to get your mouth around that. Kind of like those chicks in Boca, right? They had the lips from a Goliath grouper. Did you go see, like a doctor for that, or did you go to a taxidermist? That was always my question. Used to go to those ladies' nights all the time at Pete's. That was exceptional. All right, we'll see you later on at 12 o'clock. Should be a lot of fun today. Mike Mayo's lunchbox. I hope he has some Thanksgiving. He was discombobulated yesterday, right from the start. You laid that news on him about next week, and he couldn't think straight. Yeah.
He saved it. He salvaged himself, and I think we salvaged the situation. So Mayo's a miracle worker, but he does not take news like that very well. Right?
No. He's not big on surprises, this kid.
And I do it every time. It's become like a pastime for me. What can I do?
Yeah, like
Mayo.
Right before the show, because he tries to get things organized. We just come in and let it rip.
We just go.
He tries to get organized. I mean, he has all of the usual pre-show functions of a guy that was doing this for a while, but was taking it very seriously, and then realized what difference does it make, right?
Yeah.
They're going to hate you anyway.
Exactly.
So enjoy it. All right, thanks, people, for tuning in. Appreciate the
Yeah,
participation on the chat line. Tell your friends about the thing. Send them the link. Get some more
Yes.
subscribers here on South Florida
go.
Live, and we'll catch you on the Lunchbox, 12 o'clock today with Mike Mayo. As we leave, that.
The time.
Countdown's on, man. 2 more days of Thanksgiving. 1 more show. It's 9:08.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.